Geoffrey Chaucer was a big deal. He lived in the 14th century. Chaucer wrote in English when everyone else was using Latin or French. His most famous work is the Canterbury Tales. Chaucer's writing was funny and sharp. He used rhyme and metre. He created characters that felt real. He is considered the father of English poetry. His work set the stage for everyone else. Chaucer made English a language for literature. He paved the way for a rich poetic tradition. He is a cornerstone of English literature. His impact is still felt today. The Renaissance was a time of great change. It swept through Europe, bringing new ideas. England was no exception. Literature blossomed during this time. One writer stands out, William Shakespeare. He was a playwright and a poet. Shakespeare wrote sonnets, 14-line poems, with a specific rhyme scheme. His sonnets explored love, beauty, and time. Shakespeare's plays were also full of poetry. His words are still spoken and studied today. He's considered one of the greatest writers in the English language. His work continues to inspire and amaze. In the 17th century, a new kind of poetry emerged. This was metaphysical poetry. It was all about big ideas. John Donne was a key figure in this movement. His poetry is intellectual and passionate. He used elaborate metaphors and unusual imagery. Donne explored themes of love, death, and religion. His poetry is full of wit and paradox. He wanted to make readers think. His work is still admired for its complexity and depth. Romanticism was a reaction against the Enlightenment. Feeling and imagination were key. Nature was seen as a source of inspiration. William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge were leading Romantic poets. Wordsworth wrote about the beauty of the natural world. Coleridge explored the supernatural and the power of dreams. The Romantics celebrated the individual. They believed in the power of emotion. Their poetry is still popular today. Their work continues to move and inspire readers. Section 5. Victorian values, Tennyson's verses and Browning's drama. The Victorian era was a time of great social change. It was also a golden age for poetry. Alfred Lord Tennyson was a giant of Victorian poetry. Tennyson was a master of language. His poems are full of vivid imagery. He wrote about love, loss, and faith. He explored themes of duty and patriotism. Another key figure was Robert Browning. He was known for his dramatic monologues. Browning's poems gave voice to a range of characters. He explored complex psychological themes. His work is still admired for its power and originality. Section 6. Modernism, Eliot's Revolution and Auden's Anxiety. The 20th century brought about modernism. This was a radical break from the past. World War I had a profound impact on literature. There was a sense of disillusionment. T.S. Eliot was a key figure in this movement. His poetry is fragmented and elusive. He used free verse and stream of consciousness. Eliot captured the anxieties of the modern age. W.H. Auden was another important modernist poet. His work is characterized by its wit and intelligence. Auden wrote about politics, society, and the human condition. His poetry reflects the turmoil of the 20th century. Section 7. Post-war poetry, Hughes's Primal Force and Plath's confessional verse. After World War II, poetry continued to evolve. Ted Hughes emerged as a major force. His poetry is raw and visceral. Hughes was fascinated by nature. Hughes explored themes of violence and survival. He often used animal imagery. Hughes's poetry can be both disturbing and exhilarating. He connected with readers on a primal level. Sylvia Plath, Hughes's wife, was another important voice. She wrote confessional poetry. Plath's work is intensely personal and often painful. She dealt with themes of identity, madness, and death. Her poetry had a huge impact on later writers. Section 8. Contemporary voices, diversity, and experimentation. Contemporary poetry is incredibly diverse. There is no one dominant style or school of thought. Poets come from all walks of life. They experiment with language and form. Some contemporary poets explore personal experiences. Others engage with social and political issues. The digital age has also had an impact on poetry. Poets are using new technologies to create and share their work. There's performance poetry and spoken word. There's poetry online and in traditional print. The landscape of contemporary poetry is vast and exciting. Section 9. The enduring power of English poetry. From Chaucer to the present day, English poetry has been a powerful force. It has reflected the changing times. It has given voice to human emotions. Poetry can make us think differently. It can make us feel more deeply. It can help us understand ourselves and the world around us. English poetry continues to evolve. It remains a vital and vibrant art form. Its power to move, inspire, and challenge is as strong as ever.